Hello and welcome to your in-depth weekly horoscope for week commencing the 22nd of August for the Sun or the Ascendant. As ever, I'm going to give you the broad strands to look out for, but please stay with me. I will then dive deep to give you in forensic detail each of the 12 zodiac signs from Aries through to Pisces. Now, as this week begins, Mercury, the ruler of the sign of Virgo, is forging a tremendous angle to Pluto. So there's a sense that the analysis that Mercury in Virgo provides at the best of times is heightened even more by this combination. Now the Sun on Tuesday also powers into Virgo. So a very Virgoan energy is starting to develop. Some may call this Virgo season. So what is the sign of Virgo about? It's the sixth zodiac sign. It's ruled by Mercury, of course. It is an earth sign, but also it's mutable in terms of its quality. So very much to do with flexing. But it's asking us to use our precision and discrimination to get some of the finer details of our situations working that much more efficiently. And that can be something that can give us a great deal of pleasure. It may not sound very sexy, but actually, if the main parts of our world are running in a well-ordered way, that frees up energy. And of course, the sign of Virgo is about health as well as virtue. So we have an opportunity over the next 5 weeks to really take these areas a lot more seriously, particularly as there is a Virgo new moon on Saturday, which is going to be particularly influential because it's squaring up to the mighty Mars in the sign of Gemini. Also, Mars is forging an exuberant link with Jupiter this week, which can give us a lot more desire to live in the moment. But the clash between Mars and the new moon suggests we shouldn't try too hard to be too perfect, to try to strip out too many parts of our existence which may be a little bit indulgent. It's about finding a nice balance. But also this week, Uranus slams on the brakes, the last of the higher octave planets to do so, and will be in retrograde through to the 22nd of January next year. But there's a T-square later this week between Saturn, Uranus and Venus. And in fact, Venus and Saturn are going to be exactly opposite one another. So any relationship where one partner tends to be quite sacrificing and hardworking, particularly on the domestic front, and the other person tends to be a bit more focused on their own needs, that could cause some frosty relations as this week draws to a close. But also on Friday, Mercury moves into the sign of Libra. So whatever happens this week, however much we're trying to reform certain areas of our life, whether it's to do with decluttering, clearing out drawers, recycling stuff that we don't need anymore, perhaps getting a bit fitter, looking at what we're eating and seeing if we can make some improvements, perhaps considering some physical health treatments such as massage or aromatherapy. All that virtue is going to be tested by that T-square that involves Saturn. So when Mercury moves into Libra at the end of this week, important to listen, because I do think a bit more of a critical vibe is going to start to develop as this week draws to a close. Please stay with me for your in-depth forecast, but if you are wanting to ascend above zodiac astrology, if you give me 3 pieces of personal birth data of time, date and place, I can give you a roadmap that can guide you for the rest of your life. This can help you to understand some of the difficult patterns that may have come up over the years, but also highlight the opportunities that maybe you can embrace a bit tighter. But also with this, you will get a forecast as well, and 30% off with my special offer. Now you can get the rest of this year free as well as the whole of year 2023 within this forecast, please see the link below. Now, if you've yet to subscribe to my channel, I'd be grateful if you did so now. If you have already, thank you so much. So Leo, your week commencing the 22nd of August forecast sees the sun make way from your sign and into Virgo. Now, you know that Virgo is very much focused on details and precision, and you can use those qualities to marshal your resources really shrewdly over the next 4 weeks, with Mercury, the ruler of Virgo, also in a very desirable link with Pluto, the planet of change, but also of depth. If there is something that you need to think about this week in terms of squeezing a bit more from your budget, being a bit cannier in your approach to any purchases, then the stage is set for you to make progress. Now, of course, you have Venus, the lovely planet of relating in your sign. And the great news in 2023, just to give you a bit of insight, is that she's going to be with you for 4.5 long months. So you get an extra slice of the magic of Venus next year. But this week, Venus does go face to face with Saturn. If there is a relationship in your world which has reached a point of tenderness, this particular aspect could tease that vulnerability into the open. And it could be about money, or it could be not so much about money per se, but more about the attitude behind any attitudes to money, if that makes sense. So if your values are different from someone that you're trying to relate to, I think that can become more obvious, particularly with Uranus and the North Node in a very visible location. And if you're wanting to make progress in your worldly situation and be imaginative and try different things, but a partner, for example, is very negative about some of your ideas, that can frustrate you. But having said that, Mars is in a very strong location for you in terms of friendships and your hopes for the future. So your thrust and desire to really get the type of life you really want is strengthened by that, and its link to Jupiter can be actually very fortunate. So you could find yourself in a very dynamic frame of mind this week, particularly around those resources, but just be mindful of how any spending decisions will impact on a relationship. Or if you meet somebody new, what they stand for is going to be just as important as how attractive they are. Now, the new moon, which occurs on Saturday, gives you a chance to really move forwards in a very dynamic fashion in the next 4 weeks around those resources. But because it squares up with Mars in your 11th house, just be mindful that your idealism is balanced against your realism. If one is sort of operating in isolation to the other, that could be a bit tricky. But Mercury moves on Friday into the sign of Libra, so that's brilliant if you need to look at documents, explain your plans, converse in a quick and lively way. That's going to be really helpful to you.